Om Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Hari Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishnaya. Readings and reflections on Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi. Chapter 3, page 25. Foretaste of Life Divine. We have followed Saradamani Devi at Jairambati up to her 11th year. In the meantime, an important event occurred to which we have now to revert. Sri Ramakrishna's nephew, Hridayaram Mukherjee, lived in Shihor, and the master often went there. In the same village lived the maternal uncles of the Holy Mother. Besides, Shihor had the distinction of possessing a stone temple built after old architectural patterns and dedicated to Shiva under the name Shantinatha. The annual celebrations attracted the villagers from far and near who came to hear Kirtana music or to witness open air country theatres called Jatra. During one such Kirtana at Hridaya's house, a strange thing happened. Sarada Devi, then a mere child, sat in the lap of a woman who asked her in merriment after the Kirtana, "Whom among the great number of people assembled here would you like to marry?" Sarada Devi at once lifted her two tiny hands and pointed to Sri Ramakrishna sitting not far away. At that time, she had no idea of what matrimony was, but the unseen power that guided those little hands saw to the fulfillment of the wishes of that unerring heart. The mother had then completed her 5th year and entered the 6th. And there at Dakshineswar, Sri Ramakrishna, then completing his 23rd year, was caught in the maelstrom of a spiritual fervor preparatory to the formulation and articulation of his special message for the age. Ignorant people then thought that he had been swept off his moorings and had lost his head. When exaggerated stories of his strange behavior reached his mother Chandramani Devi at Kamarpukur, the venerable old lady, who had hardly got over the shock of losing her eldest son Ramkumar, had Ramakrishna brought home and had witch doctors engaged for curing him of his malady. But although medicines and medicine men failed, Sri Ramakrishna became a little composed, owing perhaps to the repeated spiritual visions that were vouchsafed to him at this time. Chandramani Devi was a little reassured thereby, but along with others, she diagnosed the cause of the disease to be his apathy to worldly matters. And so, with the help of her elder son Rameshwar, she set about searching for a bride for him. But their efforts were of no avail. At last, Sri Ramakrishna came to know of this, and strangely enough, he evinced no rebellious distemper, but rather said with boyish acquiescence and gaiety, "Go and find the bride marked out with a straw in Ramchandra Mukherjee's home at Jairambati." There is a note for straw, a figure of speech from the rural custom of marking out a fruit for gods or a seed by tying a straw round its stem. Go and find the bride marked out with a straw in Ramchandra Mukherjee's house at Jairambati. Following this meaningful hint, the bride was soon found out and the wedding day was fixed for a suitable date in early May 1859. On the appointed day, Rameshwar went with his brother to Jairambati and the marriage was duly celebrated. With regard to her marriage, there is a note here, referring to Sri Sri Ramakrishna Punti, page 554, relates, when women went round with 27 burning sticks, the auspicious thread coloured with turmeric and tied round the master's arm caught fire and was burnt away. The master's acts were all inscrutable. Accepting his permanent power, meaning the Holy Mother, he got his thread burnt by a trick, as it were. With regard to her marriage, the Holy Mother said, I was married when the dates ripened. When I went to Kamarpukur within 10 days, I picked up dates there. Dharmadas Laha, the landlord of the village, came and said, Is this the newly married girl? Surya's father, her uncle Ishwar Mukherjee, carried me to Kamarpukur in his arms. On the evening after the day of marriage, the groom's party returned to Kamarpukur with the married couple. When they reached there, Chandramani Devi welcomed them home with due ceremonies. The marriage celebration ended with some minor domestic observances and feeding of relatives as a matter of form on a small scale, for the poor Chatterjees could not afford to have anything big. Hardly were these over when a sad thought began to oppress Chandra Devi. The Chatterjees paid 300 rupees as bridal money. Moreover, decency and honor demanded that the bride should be duly adorned, for which purpose Chandra Devi took on loan some ornaments from the Lahas, the village landlords. These had now to be returned. And yet, Chandra Devi could not think of depriving the person of such a lovable and guileless child as Sarada. Sri Ramakrishna understood his mother's difficulty and assured her that during the little wife's sleep, he would imperceptibly remove the ornaments. This he did so deftly that Sarada Devi could not perceive anything. But next morning, when she found her body unadorned, she said, pointing to her various limbs, Where are the ornaments gone that were here and here? Chandra Devi was moved to tears by these simple words of the child, and placing her on her lap, consoled her, saying, My darling, Gadai, meaning Ramakrishna, Gadai will give you better ornaments in future. The girl was consoled somewhat by this, but her uncle, who came the next day, became infuriated and carried her back to Jairambati. This time, Sri Ramakrishna stayed at home for more than 2 years. Some 2 years after his marriage, he once went to his father-in-law's house. About this visit, the mother said, When I was 7 years old, the master came to Jairambati. You know that a married couple go together for a second time to the groom's house. He told me then, if anyone asks you when you are married, say that you are married at the age of 5. Don't say 7. The master perhaps warned her thus, lest she should think of this second visit together to Kamarpukur as the marriage itself. The mother also remembered that the master's nephew Hridaya too came with him, and the latter searched out his little aunt and worshipped her feet despite her shyness. Sarada Devi's thoughts were still immature, and yet, without being instructed by anybody, she washed the master's feet and fanned him, which added to the mirth of the people around. From Jairambati, the master went to Kamarpukur with Sarada, and not long after, he returned to Dakshineswar to dive headlong into the sea of austerities for the realization of God. Sarada too came to Jairambati and resumed her life under the tender care of her mother in the midst of rural beauty and simplicity. Her third and fourth visits to Kamarpukur were when she was 13 and 14 years old. The master was then at Dakshineswar, where also lived Chandra Devi, his mother. At Kamarpukur, the mother found Rameshwar and his wife and other relatives. Some 5 or 6 months intervened between these two visits. During the second visit, she stayed at Kamarpukur for a month and a half. After that, she spent about 3 or 4 months at Jairambati till 1867. News reached there that the master had come home with Hridaya and Bhairavi Brahmani, the lady who guided him in his tantrika spiritual practices, so that it became necessary for her to go there. The mother went and lived there with the master for 7 months. This long stay amidst the quiet natural beauty and healthy surroundings of Kamarpukur improved the shattered health of the master, and he returned to Dakshineswar with fresh vigor and drowned himself again in spiritual striving. When calm prevailed again, he resumed his visits to his native village, spending the rainy season there every year up till 1880. In accordance with the advice of physicians who condemned that season at Dakshineswar as too bad for his delicate health, undermined as it had been by long and strenuous disciplines. It is no longer possible to ascertain how many times the mother went to Kamarpukur or what happened there during this long period from 1867 to 1880. Moreover, it is impossible to determine the exact dates of the few incidents that were related of this period by the mother and others. Hence, we shall relate some of these without any attempt at chronological sequence, and then we shall return to the anecdotes of the Bhairavi Brahmani. The devotees heard from the mother of a supernatural incident that happened to her when she was at Kamarpukur at the age of 13. Just behind the master's house was a village road to which a back door opened for the use of women. Farther away lay the big Haldar Pukur, the tank of the Haldars, to which they went for bathing and for fetching water. The way lay across the village road and near some houses. In those days, women, particularly young women of high caste families, were not allowed to move about freely, so that for the mother who was shy by nature, it was a problem to traverse this distance alone. Stepping out of the back door, she mused, "I am a newly married young woman. How can I go alone for my bath?" As she stood perplexed, she saw 8 girls approach her. So she stepped on the road. 4 of those girls walked in front of her and 4 behind. Thus they all went to the tank and had their dip, and then they returned in the same manner. This happened during the whole time the mother was there. The thought often crossed her mind, who are these girls who come every day at the time of bath? But she could not make out anything, nor did she ever ask them who they were. There is a note. The Hindu belief is that the mother of the universe has 8 maids on attendance. So we read the 3rd chapter from the Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi, written by Swami Gambhirananji. The first 2 chapters, I should say briefly. The first chapter, Swami Gambhirananji, the author, goes into a discussion of the advent of the divine into this world in the human form. If such things happens, then according to Gambhirananji, that the divinity comes with its powers. I am telling it's because we do not know the divinity, what it is. Whether it is a man or a woman or beyond anything that, or whether it can take any other form. But in this situation, the Swami Gambhirananji says that the divinity, which is the Supreme God, has taken a human form in the form of Sri Ramakrishna at Kamarpukur village. And a few kilometers away, there was another village called Jairambati, where his powers came upon or manifested as this Holy Mother, Sri Sarada Devi. So Sarada, in her childhood days, how she spent in Jairambati in her father's house. That he describes in the second chapter, telling us that one important unique factor about her early childhood days was that there was, as it were, a competition between the manifestation of her divinity and humanity. That means there are certain actions were just like any other human being. But certain actions were beyond the concept of human, that is, some divine actions. So he says these two were intermittently happening in that early childhood days, and he says that the divinity aspect was manifesting predominantly, as it were. That is how the author concludes. Now in the third chapter, that is the first chapter consisted of the hamlet, the entire area of Jairambati, and the second chapter he described about the advent of the Holy Mother. The third chapter he starts discussion on 4 tastes of life divine. So the whole life of Holy Mother, you can see, is a life of divinity and life divine. And in that 4 tastes, he says, that means a preliminary or a pre-taste of things that are going to come in the future. That is called 4 taste. 4 taste means what? Something is going to happen in the later time, and that I am getting a pre-intimation. So 4 taste of the life divine. So once the author has set the scene in this way, that the divine powers of the divinity have assumed a female form in the form of Sarada and has manifested in that village Jairambati. Now he wants to give some of the incidents that happened in her childhood days till her marriage days. So we know that at the age of 5, Sarada Devi was married. Now in those days in India, the early childhood marriage was there. And I was thinking, till I went out of India, that it was a peculiar custom only to India. That's what I thought. But when I started moving around the world, in several places, that old system was available in several communities. Very early childhood days, marriage has been fixed. Though it is called a marriage or wedding ceremony, nothing of that said. The child girl and the child boy, both were fixed for each other. So that fixing is done at a very early childhood days. And only when the girl comes of age, then she comes to her husband's house. So till that period, the girl, though wedded, though marriage has been accomplished, she stays with her parents. But the system is there, 1 or 2 times she goes to her husband's place and stays with her in-laws and understands the relations, because a 5-year-old girl, what she knows about matrimony. So this was the practice at the time, and accordingly it was done. But if you just historically set it aside as merely in that age it was done like that, so the marriage of Ramakrishna and Sarada also was done that way, we are coming to a wrong conclusion. Yes, the practice was there in that age, socially the practice was available, but there is something behind. Some incident happened, How that incident he explains beautifully that in another village, Shihor, where there was a festival. Every village has got, in India, every village has got a temple. And that particular temple has got an annual festival. So in the annual festival, they have big chariots are there. Chariots will be pulled on that day. And then the deity will be taken around the entire village. And all the people will come. There are a lot of things happening at that time. Not only main puja to the deity, but also lot of cultural programs are also enacted. Like this Jatra. Jatra is one of the famous cultural item in Bengal. They are called Jatras. Jatra means theatre. So some dramas. So people will come and separately they prepare for the whole year for that particular day when they will enact the drama. So lot of dramas were being done from the Puranas, from the mythology. So people were interested. That's how the stories of mythology went to nook and corner of India, because one of the contribution of this Jatra, they say, the drama factor, the village rural drama pattern has gone everywhere, and you can see village to village the people will be invited. Why don't you come and do drama on some Puranic story? So they will prepare that. And then there are some social stories also they would make. That drama which our Sri Ramakrishna's, one of the householder disciple, Sri Girish Chandra Ghosh, he was expert in that. He was a dramatist and he used to create lot of dramas, not only mythological but also social dramas. So with that he could create some awareness. You find this happened in every state of India. We see during the 19th century, this drama was one of the important aspects, even for attaining our national freedom. In the freedom movement also the drama has helped. In many places, the localities, the boys and girls would come together and they would enact dramas. So the dramas are called Jatras in Bengali. They are very popular. So during one of those celebrations, Sarada Devi, 5-year-old girl, has been taken by her mother and her mamas, that is her mother's brothers, and they all were sitting there. And she was on the lap of one of her mama. And the mother asked her, who is asking, Sarada Devi, then a mere child, sat in the lap of a woman, not mama, woman, who asked her in merriment after the kitna. This is a very, very simple question asked to young girls in their, before they come of age. They said, whom you are going to marry among the boys, like that they ask. But this is something, a question, just merriment. There is nothing seriousness attributed to this question. So in the same way, that lady who had kept Sarada on her lap, she asked. But the author says here, Sarada at once lifted her 2 tiny hands and pointed to Sri Ramakrishna sitting not far. Now, she doesn't know who Sri Ramakrishna was and from which village he has come. There are hundreds of people are sitting in that group, and her hands went pointing towards to Sri Ramakrishna. This is, if we had known only this much, then we would say this is a one-sided story. But is there anything to confirm this from the Ramakrishna side? For that only the author took some pains to explain about Ramakrishna's situation at that time. When mother was at 5 years of age, Sri Ramakrishna was 16 and Sri Ramakrishna was 23rd year. So 18 years or 17 years of difference you can find. During these 23rd years, Sri Ramakrishna was living at Dakshineswar temple. He has become a pujari, and a lot of things were happening in Dakshineswar at that time. Sri Ramakrishna, though got married to Sarada, he went back to his place, and in Dakshineswar there are many things happening which are unknown at that time. Even his own mother Chandra Devi could not understand, though she was staying with Ramakrishna in Dakshineswar temple, she couldn't understand what is happening to her son. Only thing she could notice was her son is not normally behaving. So some abnormalities she can see, which has been seen by the others also. That's why they all used to call Pagla Bamun. That means, a Brahmin by birth Sri Ramakrishna was, and he was considered a mad guy. So a mad Brahmin. That is what the people used to make fun of him. Why they called mad? Because his behavior was not normal. There were other pujaris of the temple who behaved in a normal way, which you cannot find with him. For instance, when Ramakrishna used to sit for puja, because that was his duty, to do puja of Mother Kali there, and Mother Kali's statue is there, and he sits there and he does all the decoration of Mother Kali with the flowers, with everything, and then all the things are kept, and he comes and sits at his seat, the puja seat, and then he starts doing puja. While doing puja, all the mantras have to be recited. Okay. And then offerings have to be done. People were stunned to see that Ramakrishna taking all the offerings of flowers into his hands and keeping on his head, instead of offering, getting up and offering at Mother Kali's feet. That was something no pujari could even think of, putting everything on his head. And then people thought, what is happening? And then they come and see nearby, even ants are moving in the sweet prasad that has been kept to be offered, and he is not doing anything. A pujari is supposed to take out all those ants, and keep it safe. He is not attending to that. And then he starts singing. And if he starts singing, the singing doesn't stop. It goes on for hours. And when the puja will be over, and when the people will get prasad, you see, everything is timed. Nowadays you find, you can't do such things, particularly in an organized way. In our ashrams you find, so 10 to 12. If you put a program, you have to finish by 12. We are all very anxious that when the program will be over, because the prasad has to be given, people are waiting. So those things, normal things they are all, they are considered as normal, but for Ramakrishna, this cannot be. When he starts feeling about mother, and he is having conversation with her, which others could not understand. They see him talking to her, and what mother is talking to him is not heard by others. So Ramakrishna only knows. So this abnormal behavior created a lot of problem for the temple karmacharis or the officials, and there is no other way to control Ramakrishna except complaining to the higher authorities. So the temple was owned by Rani Rasmani, and she has got a manager. So they went to Bishwas Babu, the manager, and complained to him. Now this man, the manager, was not very serious about taking these complaints about Ramakrishna. Somehow he had started loving this pujari, so this young pujari. So he thought, no, these people are simply because of jealousy, they are complaining like that. So finally, this went to Rani Rashmani herself. And Rani Rashmani, when she heard, she thought, no, I must do something for this, because people are complaining. I cannot keep quiet like that. So one day she visited the temple, and her son-in-law, who is the manager of the temple, naturally received the mother-in-law, who is the owner of the temple, and he took her and kept her, gave a good nice seat before the Mother Kali, and the puja was just finished. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting, and this lady comes, and she said to Ramakrishna, hey, you sing very well. I have heard you earlier also. Why don't you sing some bhajans? So Sri Ramakrishna looked at her. She requested him, so he started singing bhajans. And the bhajan was going on, and his eyes reverted to this lady. Suddenly he got up from his seat, went next to her, and slapped her. Now the owner of the temple being slapped, all the people are sitting there, standing there, and all her security guards were standing there. They all went with their arms, straight to attack Ramakrishna. She stopped them. No, this younger pujari has done the right thing, she said. All were stunned. Why? What did she do? That what did he do was the right thing? He slapped the owner of the temple. She said, my mind was busy in thinking about my legal problems instead of putting my mind on the mother before whom I am sitting. So he warned me, don't take your mind away. Put your mind when you are in temple, you should put your mind on the goddess. That's a great lesson I learned today. Like that she later stated. So Ramakrishna's these changes that are happening to Sri Ramakrishna was all due to his intense tapasya. It's called austerity. Different kinds of austerities he was practicing and different experiences he was gaining, one after another. And it is strangely, and the gurus also were coming for different paths. So one of the important paths in Hinduism is called tantric way of attaining God. So in the tantra there are called 64 tantras are there. All the 64 tantras had to be practiced. So Sri Ramakrishna desired that and he got a guru. So one lady came, Bhairavi, she was called Bhairavi Brahmani. So the Bhairavi came and she became the guru of Ramakrishna in tantra sadhana, in the practice of tantric disciplines. So she became the guru and she also, when he used to go to Kamarpukur, she also would accompany him from Dakshineswar to Kamarpukur. And she was the person who declared that Sri Ramakrishna an incarnation according to the Shastras, according to scriptures. You see, you may have simply a hunch or so, oh, Ramakrishna is a divine. Like that some people had in that village also. But then she was the person who proved according to the scriptures and according to the signs that are happening on the body of Sri Ramakrishna. She took out one by one and she commented, these are all the signs that are spoken in the scriptures. So scripturally valid, she made Sri Ramakrishna's incarnation theory. Yes, he is incarnation in this age. And she also used to come to Kamarpukur. So in these 13 years of mother growing up in Jarambati and Ramakrishna having spiritual practices in Dakshineswar, in these years, how many times he came to Kamarpukur, there is no record. And in all those times, whether mother went or not, that also we do not know. But one or two times, mother went to Kamarpukur and stayed with her husband. That has been noted. Because she herself told later that once I went at my age, I went, this age I went, like that she said. So from that we can understand that she has gone there. One of the very pathetic incident that the author quotes here is on the day of marriage, the evening. You see, the Chatterjees, that is the Ramakrishna side, that the groom's side, they were very, very poor. They didn't have money or ornaments to give to their daughter-in-law. So Sarada has become a daughter-in-law. She has to be given. So what to do? So the rich man of the village, Lahas, so they approached, can you lend your ornaments? Because he had a lot of ornaments. So for this marriage purpose. So he lent, and those ornaments were put on Sarada's body. A 5-year-old girl, just imagine. She is having so many types of ornaments, and Indian girls are very fond of ornaments. When they go to Dubai to purchase gold ornaments from India, where do you go? Why do you go to Dubai? He said, no, to purchase gold ornaments, they say. So we find that they are very fond of gold ornaments, and they are fond of putting it also. In some places like America, etc., also the girls, even in South Africa I have seen, there's some of the blacks, they are very fond of the ornaments. But then they don't put it on. They'll use it very rare occasions. But Indian girls, they are very fond of ornaments. And even today, if you go to villages, etc., some 2-3 ornaments will be there on their body. So these ornaments, they are very fond of. And Sarada was not. Here she has expressed her humanity, you should say. That she is like a small child. She is telling, yes, where are the ornaments? Next day morning she gets up and she said, no ornament. What was done was, mother of Ramakrishna, that is the mother-in-law of Sarada, she started telling Ramakrishna, look my son, these ornaments I brought it from Laha's house and tomorrow I have to return it. But how to tell these small girls, take it and give it? It's not possible. The girl will say, no, this is mine, I won't give. She will say, as a child. So how to take it away? So Ramakrishna assured her, don't worry, let her sleep well and I will take out very nicely. He says very deftly, that is the word he uses, in a very expertise he had. So he took out one by one all the ornaments that Sarada was wearing and gave to his mother, okay, go and return this. And when the morning she got up, the girl could notice no ornament was there and she was perturbed and she asked, where are they gone? So the mother-in-law took this 5-year-old girl on her lap and consoled her, don't worry, your husband will get you better ornaments in future. That's how the girl was consoled. This is a very beautiful incident, but it gives the pathos in the life of poverty. When poverty attacks you, you do not know how the life is. Only those people can empathize with the other people who have seen the poverty. If you have not seen the poverty at all, you can never understand the seriousness of such situations. And if you have at least seen the proper poverty, then you will know how people were so difficult. Last time we were discussing about the famine. Last week we saw how the Irish famine was there and how Indian famine was there. They were all almost in the same 2-3 years difference only. India also underwent a famine when Ireland underwent a famine. So you can see how we were telling in the last week how Sister Nivedita in India struggled to serve these famine-ridden people. So when nothing is available to eat, nothing is available to hold anything as your own, it is a terrible thing. So Sarada she herself was from poor family and she was betrothed to another poor family in Kamarpukur. So these are the things she says. And here one of the Swami Gabiranji says here, we shall relate some of these incidents, a few incidents related to this period, that is 1867 to 1880. Some of these incidents. And he says, I am going to tell you those incidents because we do not know the year, date, month, etc. I am not putting it in chronological order, but I will tell you as we heard from Mother. So that is what he is telling. So the first incident, he quotes of a supernatural, he calls it supernatural incident, happened to Sarada when she was at the age of 13. This is a very important incident that we quote here. This is what happened in that village. There was a back door for going to the pond. The Brahmin girls are not allowed to roam freely in the village. They are not seen like that. So if at all when a girl comes out, she has to come out with some senior person, and there are places in village where you can visit, where you cannot visit. All those rules and regulations are there. The caste system in those days was such that even if a higher caste wants to go nearer to the lower caste and ask something, that lower caste would feel, no, I am not allowed to give you anything. That's what we find in one of the incidents Ramakrishna says. Ramakrishna, one devotee used to come to say Ramakrishna, and he was narrating his experience. When he was going there, he was very thirsty. So he went, he saw a well, and in the well, the low caste woman was taking the water. So he went and told her, can you please give me water? I want to drink. That girl says, no man, I cannot give you, because I belong to lower caste. You belong to higher caste. How can I give you? Like that she is telling. So then he says, okay, the caste difference is there, okay, but then now you tell along with me 3 times the name of Shiva. Shiva, 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 you say. Then your caste is purified. Then you can give me water. So a spiritual way was there to raise a person from the status of a lower caste to the higher caste. If you take the name of God, then you are purified. So where is the problem? So I can take water from you. So the lower caste people themselves would not come before you. So that was the reason that in those days the higher caste girls were not able to roam freely. So there are a lot of, these are all embarrassing situations, as you call it. In that caste system had that. Nowadays, of course, those are all gone. Nothing to worry about that. But now, those days, 100 years before, these things were very predominant. And so there was a back door through which the girls used to go and take bath. And also, very early morning, you have to get up and finish your bath there and ablutions. Otherwise, there is no bathroom separate. So where you will do your ablutions? You have to go to that pond side. So Sarada used to stand there. She used to think, I am a newly married. She understands now, 13-year-old girl. She, I am married girl. How can I go alone at these so early hours to that pond and take bath also? And when she was thinking like that, suddenly there would appear 8 girls. It's so beautiful, 8 girls, and 4 girls in front of her, 4 girls in back of her, and all the 9 girls together would walk towards in the small path. The pathway was there. They used to walk to the pond, and they all would take bath, and they would come away. Sarada later on, when she was recollecting this incident, she used to say, never I had the inclination to ask them who they were. I never asked them. I thought they were all village girls. So they came and they took bath with me and then they went away. So this was something, a supernatural incident, because we see that according to scriptures, the Divine Mother Durga has got 8 Sakhis, friends. Ashta Sakhis they are called. Ashta Sakhis means 8 friends. So the 8 friends of our Durga, they came because it is the power of divinity, as we say, the Divine Mother has come in this form of Sarada. Then what about her friends? They will have to come and help her in those days. So they appeared. That is what the belief goes like that. So this is something, a supernatural incident. And when she says, who are these girls who come every day at the time of bath? This crossed her mind, but she could not make out anything, nor did she ever ask them who they were. So that is what says that these Ashtasakis, these 8 friends of Divine Mother, came and were with her. If the Divine Mother, Durga is one aspect, there is another aspect Saraswati, another aspect Lakshmi. These are all aspects of the Divine Mother. And there's a beautiful verse on Divine Mother which is very famous all over the world. It's called Sri Sri Chandi in Bengali. We use the word Chandi, we say. It's called Durga Saptashati. Another name is there. In this Durga Saptashati, 700 slokas on Durga, it is mentioned that first 3 nights of Navaratri is worshipped or dedicated to Mother Kali. Second 3 nights are dedicated to Mother Lakshmi. And third 3 nights are dedicated to Mother Saraswati. So here we find that Kali, Lakshmi, Saraswati, or Parvati, Lakshmi, Saraswati. These 3 aspects are belonging to the same Divine Mother, and she manifests in different forms. So these are the 3 important predominant forms of one Divine Mother, who takes these different forms according to her functions. So we see that. So as Lakshmi, she has got 8 different forms. Our scriptures bring out, that's Ashta Lakshmi, Ashta Mahalakshmi, they call it. So Lakshmi also we find 8 types of Lakshmis are there. So those things are of course some other day we can think of. So that Ashta Sakhi for Durga or 8 Lakshmis of Lakshmi, they are all of different manifestations, and those Divine Mother, when she goes to take bath in that village, these friends also came to help her. This much we can have a preliminary idea, foretaste. This is called foretaste. Just think of this and keep this in your own mind, so that later on, this cannot be proved or argued or anything controversial to be created at this stage. That's what the author wants perhaps to us. That's why he says foretaste. Just think this has happened. Mother has said this, so it is true, it has happened. Now, if you want to correlate this really, then you have to go to the future incidents that are going to happen, that are going to manifest, I should say, that how she is going to manifest a divinity in other manner. That we shall see later as we proceed further. Om Kripam Guru Mahadevi Suteshu Pranateshu Cha Charanasraya Danena Kripamayi Namostute. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tatsat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.